was 22 years old when I was involved in a near-fatal incident. This incident changed my life forever, and anyone that loves me's life forever. It's been 17 years and the guilt doesn't go away. Based on probabilities, I should not be here. My name's Steve Howe. I'm from Kelowna, BC in Canada.
And I'm Melissa Howe. Our hope is to share the story so we can help families and workers be able to go to work safe and come home safe.
On average, 1 in 10,000 construction workers die on the job, while thousands are severely injured every year. Steve Howe was one of those workers. He was a young, eager tree faller with a bright future ahead of him. One day, everything changed, suffering the consequences of a life-altering injury. This is his true story.
I hope that people will realize and believe that this stuff is real. It can happen to anybody. No one's exempt. And it's not just gonna hurt you, it's gonna hurt everyone that you love. And there's no redos.
Steve never missed a day, always wanting to please his boss or his company.
I knew what made them happy is when you get stuff done, don't complain. I would not stop until it was done. And back then didn't care how I got it done or how safe it was. That wasn't even a word in my vocabulary. I took careless risks or shortcuts every single day. And year after year, day after day, nothing happened to me. There was a time where we had an oops blast where we blew out all of our tie-off points. We were delaying the train, and our supervisor said, okay, you two tie off to each other, and Steve, you go over the edge. I knew that it could hurt me, kill them. I didn't take very many calculated risks. I just point and shoot and go and live with the results. Again, because it's only gonna affect me. Not realizing, oh, that's the smallest part of this whole thing. It typically hurts the ones you love the most and never goes away.
Steve has been working tirelessly day in and day out for weeks on end. One morning, Melissa suggests that he take a mental health day. Despite Melissa's advice, Steve was determined to push through.
I need to go make money, so basically get out of my way and I gotta go. And decided to walk out that door and didn't know that could be the last time I walked through that door. And then June 16, 2006, making that decision to go to work changed my life forever.
Steve and his crew were tasked with removing trees along the highway that day. This project was part of a larger initiative to widen the road in preparation for the 2010 Winter Olympics in Vancouver. The timely completion of the project was crucial due to the strict schedule. Upon arriving on site, Steve promptly receives the worksite location from his supervisor.
I grab my chainsaw and head to this location. I realized that the trees that need to be felled were all leaning towards the railway tracks. And within our contract, we had to let the railway company know what we were gonna do and get their blessing before you could execute the work. And so I said to the representative, hey, I'm just gonna fall these trees parallel to the tracks. I'll do my best. And he goes, but Steve, can you guarantee me that you won't hit the tracks with those trees, which will delay our trains? And I said, sir, I can't 100% guarantee that. So I go back to the supervisor and explained that he's not gonna sign off on that method. And the supervisor looked at me and goes, well, you gotta come up with another plan then, because we only have today to get this done. And then I'm like, what do you mean we only have today to get this done? He goes, oh, we have this environmental tow window expiring, and if we don't get it done, all the other sequence of events that need to happen won't happen. And he put all this pressure on me. And so I was thinking on my toes, and I was like, okay, I know what to do. Hey, supervisor, get me an operator. Any of these 5 guys, I just named them first and last name. Get me an excavator, and we'll machine assist these trees over. So some time goes by. When I see the operator, I went, holy crap. That isn't any of those guys I asked for. and he was newer, and I instantly had this gut feeling. I was like, this is not right, doesn't feel right. So I went up to the supervisor and said, hey, I don't feel safe working with him. I'm in close proximity to a machine while falling a tree. It's high risk. And I explained all the reasons why I thought it was important, why I need one of those operators. And he let me finish speaking, and he said, you done speaking, boy? And I said, yes, sir. And he said, buddy, if you don't like it, there's the road, use it. And so at this point, anger consumed me. And I told the supervisor, you can F off and take this job and shove it. I quit and have fun trying to figure out how to get this job done on time. And I started hiking up the hill, and my mind already is going from my fight with my girlfriend, and now I just quit this job that I actually really loved. And I get to my truck, and I started it, and I was gonna leave, and then for some reason my phone was sitting on my dashboard. And I picked it up, and wasn't gonna call anybody. But when I looked at that phone, a picture showed up, and it was a picture of Melissa. And then this is where my mind started spinning, my heart was twisting. I committed to providing and looking after her. It was a no-brainer. I knew I wanted to marry her. I was battling internally of like, well, if I leave right now, I gotta go home and tell her I don't have a job. I have a mortgage payment, car payment, truck payment. If I quit, how am I gonna pay for those things? And so I convinced myself this isn't an option anymore. I have to do it. It's not a maybe, I have to go. And so I put my phone on the dashboard and I walked down the hill. And by this point, the supervisor's gone to replace me or do whatever he was gonna do. And I went up to the operator. He goes, what do you wanna do, Steve? You clearly don't wanna work with me. And I just said, hey man, it's like 20 trees, let's just get the job done. So we put together our plan, good or bad plan. We had our plan. Basically the plan I would have an undercut in the tree. I would have a back cut in the tree. He would put the excavator against the tree and then just push it down where we want it to go. He would slam the tree to the ground, then stack the wood, then rip out the stump, and then wash, rinse, repeat. We would just keep doing it until all 20 trees are gone. About 8 or 9 trees have hit the ground already, and it's going okay. I still don't feel comfortable, but I need to get it done. And then I get to the last tree I ever got to fall in my life, and that's probably something that still is tough to accept. 3rd generation logging family, and something I was passionate. I didn't need an alarm clock to get out of bed to do that. So I'm looking at this tree, and I put my undercut in it, get him set up in the tree, I put my back cut in it, and then I give him the hand signal to push. And he starts pushing the tree over, and he's pushing the tree away from me. And then all of a sudden something happens, and he just stops pushing the tree down. And then the bucket comes swinging towards me, and it wasn't coming really fast, but it was swinging back towards me. And so now I'm trying to see why he has deviated from the plan, but also it must be so important that he needs to get my attention, so I'm looking to look for his eyes. And then the sun blinded me, then the bucket covered the sun so I could see for a sec, and then it uncovered the sun, and then all of a sudden the next thing I know, the outside tooth, the tooth beside it hit me in the stomach, slammed me to the ground, and then it dragged me the full length of the machine. I've broken a lot of bones in my life, and nothing as compared, not a single thing, to what that feeling was. Whatever words above excruciating is what it felt like. It was so unbearable, even screaming wasn't taking away even 1 ounce of it. And as I laid there longer, the more it hurt and the more it hurt. I even felt like before I bled out that I was gonna pass out from just the pain. But then I felt these like electrocution bolts. That's the nerve severing. And then from there, it felt like my legs caught on fire. And then so I looked down. And when I looked down, I realized that my legs were separating from my body. And that's when it got really scary, is when I looked down and seen my boots were over here. And I looked down and my intestines and everything were falling out the bottom, and I'm trying to hold them. From there, the operator, I heard him scream and ran to my aid and said, what do I do? What do I do? And I told him to call 911.
911, what's your emergency?
So in the early 2000s, I used to race dirt bikes, snowmobiled, hunt and fish.
What attracted me to Steve was how outdoorsy he was, because I myself love the outdoors and quadding, dirt biking, hiking.
We're always talking the future of when we would get married.
How many kids?
And how many kids, yeah, how many kids.
We agreed on 2. 2 kids. The morning that the incident happened, I was on my way to Vancouver and we came to a road closure. It was a longer closure than normal. I seen where they were falling trees on the side and I thought, oh, it's probably Steve, because Steve, I believe, is the only tree faller working on the highway. So I called him just to see like how things were and why the road closure was so long. Didn't get an answer, but didn't think too much of it because he's working. As we started driving, I just had a weird feeling in my gut, just that something wasn't right. So I continued to call and call, no answer. And then I just started sinking in more like something might be wrong.
The good news is that they were able to deploy a helicopter immediately. At that point, I was also a level 3 first aid attendant. I knew it wasn't good. I was trying to hold my guts in with my hands, trying to put whatever we could, his vests, a bunch of different things, trying to keep as much blood as we could in. All I could think about is I can't close my eyes yet. I have to stay awake. And then the helicopter showed up and they got me packaged. And at this point, I'm completely exhausted. I have nothing left in me.
I got a phone call saying that Steve was in a really bad work injury and that he was being flown to VGH by helicopter. They didn't give me too much information, just that it wasn't good and that you should get there as soon as you can, kind of thing. I just heard my heart pumping so fast, like it was just, all I could hear was just my heart. I couldn't think of anything, just in complete shock.
Steve's world blurred amidst the whirring of the helicopter blades. A cascade of doubts washed over him. Would he ever embrace adventure with Melissa again? Could they still dream of building a family together? The agony was unbearable, and the darkness began to close in around him.
All I remember is just like looking through a straw. I could hear a little bit, but not too much. At that point, I don't think I had a choice. I was going out whether I wanted to or not. And I fell asleep. But then to me, that's where the journey started, because what ended up happening is I went into a coma. And for me, my experience with that was nothing but a nightmare, something I'm actually more fearful today of going in a coma than ever dying. I just had dream after dream that was just horrific. They were doing surgeries in my dreams. But why it was so scary is because like we all have bad dreams today, but you don't usually feel, hear, smell. You can tell reality from a dream. But in my coma, it felt like it was real. And so I could smell, I could hear, I could feel. I was always screaming in my dreams. The surgeries they were doing, they're pulling skin off my body, off my arms, my legs. Melissa was there every day. And then she stopped coming. She came back this one last time and she said, "I'm sorry, but I can't be with you anymore. Look at you, you have no arms, no legs. This is not what I signed up for." And she left. And it felt not fake, it felt real. I was like, what else do I want to live here for? And so the last thing I remember in this coma is I said a little prayer. And I just said, God, if you're there, I can't do this, because I'm going to let go. From that, I don't remember much. I don't know if that happened second day I was in a coma or 2 months into it. I don't know. But it was just a black screen.
When we got there, they had told me that Steve had already gone in for surgery, so I wouldn't be able to see him. They said that he lost a lot of blood and they didn't know if he was gonna make it. They were doing everything they could to keep him alive. I just went in complete shock and was in almost like disbelief that it was even happening. Family and friends in the room and just praying for a miracle at that point. And I believe it was around 11 at night, maybe even later, that they said we could go see him. He was in intensive care. They still didn't know if he would make it through the night or not.
Steve remembers waking up one last time to see his mother by his bedside. She was holding his hands and praying.
God, take my life instead of his. It felt like my heart got ripped out. And then I closed my eyes again.
Steve's coma initially attracted a crowd of visitors who left supportive messages in a notebook at his bedside. As time passed, the crowd dwindled, revealing true friends who stood by his side during his journey. Even today, these friends now navigate carefully around the limitations Steve's disabilities impose. Throughout this time, Steve's mother, Barbara, kept a journal, documenting the upheaval in their lives. Her dedication disrupted the lives of Steve's sisters, leaving them uprooted from their family home, feeling lost and their family under financial strain. Melissa moved into a hotel near the hospital, leaving behind her life, friends, and hometown, all in the hope that Steve would awaken from his coma. Unable to communicate with him, she spent her days watching him breathe. While her family and friends offered support, she often found herself alone, turning to journaling as an outlet for her emotions.
I remember writing in my journal about get better, pull through, because, we need to get married one day, and so we could have that family that we talked about before.
Steve's reality was a literal nightmare. His family and Melissa never left his side, never gave up hope, and prayed for a miracle. After 90 days, their prayers were finally answered.
And then I woke up and realized that most of those things didn't happen. Some of them sure did. Skin being torn off or placed in other places, the legs being trying to put back together, that happened. But Melissa was there. And so now I'm awake trying to figure out what's happened to me and what really, truly, is this reality or is this still a dream? And so I'm battling with that internally. And I tried to move my legs and they didn't move. I tried to move my arms and I could barely get them like an inch off the bed. My neck was sore and I tried to move my neck and I couldn't even get it off the pillow. I went to say something and didn't know I had a trach in my neck or in my throat. I couldn't communicate for a long time, but I do remember one thing that was pretty special to me is they taught me how to say a few words by closing off my trach and saying something. And I practiced a few times with the nurse before Melissa would show up. And I remember I learned, and all I said is I closed up my trach and I said, "I love you, hon." And I say that. But then the other side says if I love her, then she should go be with someone that thinks of her first. And she doesn't deserve this life. She shouldn't have to clean my crap bag and push me in a chair and all those things. And so I started being mean and was trying to drive her away.
When he did wake up out of his coma, I can talk to him, but he couldn't talk back, I remember the nurses, every time I would come, they'd say, "Oh, we're surprised to see you here." It's like, "Oh, why?" And they said, "Well, normally we don't see people like you come back. Like a 20-year-old, they don't stick around." So I said, like, "It's great that you're still here standing beside him." I just thought if it was me, he would be there as well, by my side. But it definitely wasn't easy.
And then there came a point where she still just kept coming. And it just did something inside me and sparked me to, like, if she's not willing to give up on me, I'm not giving up on her. And I just kept trying for her and to do the things that are impossible. Thing after thing, we beat the bag. I got the trach out. Finally, eventually one day got into crutches. And then one day I was able to drop the crutches and just have braces, and then it was one brace, and now you fast forward 17 years and I can pretty much walk.
As Steve regained his strength, he was determined to propose to Melissa immediately. Despite his eagerness, he was physically unable to get down on one knee just yet.
When I got back from the hospital, I went to physio. They said I was a mess and asked me where I wanted to start because we're not going to fix everything at once. And I said, if this is going to work, I said, we need to work on me getting out of this chair and onto one knee to at least propose to Melissa. We worked extremely hard. It was scary getting out of a chair or being pushed out of a chair onto the ground and trying to figure out how to get yourself up with both legs not working. And people kept wondering what the heck I was doing until pretty much everyone in that room was cheering for me for the day that I felt strong enough to be able to get onto the knee and then back off my knee into the chair. Physio was literally across the street from the jewelry store. And so I was able to get the ring, and then I was ready.
So he surprised me with a limo and went to this amazing hotel down in Vancouver.
And then all of a sudden I got the call that the limo just arrived.
Opened up the door and there was rose petals, and he was down on one knee, waiting for me to walk towards him. It was a lot for him to do that, a lot of dedication.
In that moment, I just started reflecting back on leaving the house that day, the journey in the coma, putting her through hell in the hospital, the challenges that I still had, and she's coming towards me still. I looked at her and thanked her, told her how grateful I was, that I am the luckiest guy on this earth, and asked her if she'd spend the rest of her life with me.
He proposed and I said yes.
I felt gratitude. I felt blessed. I felt loved. But then the other side, I felt that I didn't deserve that. Like, look what I did. I selfishly did something for me, for my company, for my job. And she just selflessly came every day and still wanted to give me chance after chance. And so it was kind of a mixed emotions.
Committed to a future together, Melissa and Steve wanted to grow their family. Due to Steve's injuries, they faced fertility challenges that necessitated invasive treatments. After multiple unsuccessful attempts over 2 years, the process took a toll on their relationship and finances. With Melissa's deep desire for children, the emotional burden intensified between the couple, and Steve struggled with feelings of inadequacy in his role as a family provider and protector. Nevertheless, their determination prevailed, and they welcomed their first daughter.
After recovery and sitting at home, was trying to forward think of what do I do if I get out of here? How do I provide for Melissa? It scared the living crap out of me. Because you imagine I'm in a power wheelchair, can't feel my legs, At this point, don't know if I'm gonna be stuck with a trach or not. This ileostomy bag off the side, had a catheter still. To be honest, not very employable. Thinking how much of a motivation Melissa was to me. It was like, if she can come here and give up her life for me, I can figure out how to get a job. My old employer took me back when I could, and I was doing so well in our safety group that when I asked to switch to be a PM, they told me there's no way I'm leaving safety. And from there, it kind of grew on me, and realized that I can help people and stop things like happened to me, happen to them.
Then, in 2008, Steve got a call that changed his life forever.
One of my friends actually was fatally killed. And my company called me and said, hey, can you go to this job and just say some words of encouragement, inspiration, just anything, that the job is in a funk. And so I went there and I didn't know what to say. I didn't talk for a living. I don't talk to people. Remember, I was all about myself. And I just looked at the crowd and I just seen the hurt and disbelief. And I basically, if I summed it up, as I just said, we all love this guy. He wouldn't want us to not finish the job strong and make sure that everyone else goes home to their families. We can do it for him. And seeing just that little glimmer of hope and spirit lifting a little tiny bit, it just did something inside of me and gave me that bit of a spark, and started wondering, is that my purpose? Is my purpose to try and help the next family so that we don't have to keep having this happen? We should be able to go to work every single day incident-free. We should. We all don't have to learn the hard way. One of the things that I learned through this journey is there isn't many new lessons to be learned, just new people that learn them. And so I'm just trying to help people learn the lesson through me versus them themselves having that aha moment to figure it out.
A life-altering injury impacts the family, disrupting routines and emotional health. Recovery requires resilience and collective support, which can either bond or break families. Ultimately, the ripple effect of such injuries extends far and wide.
The decisions you make or others make, the ripple effect that can have on so many other people, not just yourself. And it's something that doesn't just go away.
Yeah, just the trials and pain and suffering and everything that we've had to go through, and challenges for us and our kids and family. The one hard thing was like playing soccer with Sydney, or running with Scarlett, or any of those things that he felt bad that he couldn't do. And I think even like for me, we can never run on the beach together, and he can't pick me up like you see other couples doing. And you know, that was hard for sure on me for a while. And sometimes I would, you know, get in my head about it. Like, he can't hike with me. I can hike with my friends, but I can't hike with him. But I mean, we still make the best of what we can do. We just find things that we can do together. And he tries as much as he can.
There's tons of things I wish I could do with them. My oldest daughter likes playing basketball. I never say I can't. Bounces far to the left, far to the right. So my daughter goes and chases the ball down, and now she's at the age where she wants to like go one-on-one with me, and it's tough watching the other dads play, and you kind of sit there and your wife is doing the job that hopefully you should have been doing, and it's really tough to watch that.
Burdened by the weight of his guilt, Steve's approach to parenting is deeply influenced as he strives to protect his daughters from harm.
It's been 17 years and the guilt doesn't go away. And it's like a constant reminder of all the things that I can't do with the kids and Melissa. And even today, I think I do more worrying about what's the next thing they're gonna ask me that I have to disappoint them and say no. And so it's still there. I try and always be a can-do person and don't use the can't word, so I'll try anything. But some things are just not in the cards anymore. I gotta be reminded all the time that I got a second chance, and I'm grateful for every day that I get to be here.
I mean, right after the accident, it was like, look at life a lot different, and wish we wouldn't have done that, or wish I wouldn't have said that, or wish we would have had the time together. Like, we just definitely look at life differently and live it to the fullest now, because we almost didn't get this second chance at life. Now we know to live it now with our girls and our family.
As of this year, it'll be 83 surgeries that I've had, and I still have more to go. I just keep delaying them. I'm just so worried that will it be the next one that gets me? And so I keep pushing them as much as I can. Some of them are just cosmetic. Some of them gives me better function. But for me, I'd rather have less function than my kids or wife get a call that it didn't go well. So I keep pushing them.
Beyond the physical limitations of his injury, his incident had a profound financial impact on Steve. His unforeseen coma and over 200 days in the hospital led to the accumulation of unpaid bills, worsened by the lack of insurance coverage and a designated power of attorney, which resulted in an unusable credit score. Among these unresolved financial burdens, Steve endures the daily struggle, with each day presenting its own set of challenges.
When I wake up, I think about mostly the day-to-day stuff, and think about the crazy world that we all live in and have to deal with, and I try and forget all this stuff, but it reminds me. I'm in constant pain, so it lets me know that my body hurts. I try not to let that affect me or my relationships or anything, and the scars, I don't see too much at all until I'm at a beach setting or at a pool or that type of setting where kids can't, it's not their fault, but they can't stop us staring if we're on the beach. And they want to know why, or they want to touch my scars, and so it's definitely humbled me. And when I had that cowboy attitude that I'm invincible, I'm the best, no one could do what I do, never happened to me, it's never gonna happen to me. I've been doing this for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. You guys listen to all those rules, but we don't. And then luck runs out, just like mine. And then in my case, I look at thousands of people and say, guess what? It happened to me. I'm just like you. Put one pant leg on at a time, get dressed the way just like you do. Nothing extra special about me. I also thought, if I ever got hurt, it just affects me. Not realizing that when you make those bad choices or have those cowboy tendencies, you getting hurt or dying is the easy part. It's the people that do this world without you. It's the people, if I stayed a quadriplegic, that have to look after you. And that's not the life that any of those people signed up for. So you're choosing yourself over something at work. And the crazy thing is I've had to reflect on this for years. And I was trying to figure out, why did I do that? Why would I continue to be that person? And when I tried to break it down, all I realized is I did it because again, all work-related things, I wanted to be noticed. I wanted attaboys. I wanted this affirmation from my peers. And apparently I was willing to do that at all costs.
Steve acknowledges his past selfishness and embraces a renewed outlook on life. His bond with his uncle, once a pillar in the family's logging tradition, frayed as Steve resented the continued risks he takes by remaining dedicated to logging. Yet, despite this strain, Steve now recognizes and values his uncle's sacrifices with newfound respect.
You hear that line is, you only have today. You only have today to get the job done. And the sad truth is, maybe that's our hope and wish we could get it done today. But even using my story as an example, they said I only had today to get it done. Well, guess what happened the next day? Because they shut down the job that day. The next day, it got done. They got an extension. What a crazy concept. And I think that we put that on ourselves and think that our employers want us to do it at all costs. And maybe 30, 50 years ago, there was people like that, but not today. But again, as humans, we build that up in ourselves that it's life or death. And when you break that down, truly, we're talking about work. Work that, if you're in construction, are building a bunch of things that are just temporary. They all have a start date and an end date and a shelf life, and then they all got to come down. The highway I was a part of building had a 60-year shelf life and only has 40 left. I risked everything, maybe never being a dad, seeing my wife again, for something that was temporary. That was one of the aha moments. Was for some reason I believed in myself, and maybe that was the cockiness, etc. But I thought that we would make or break schedule because of me. Well, there's 600 people on site, $660 million job, and we make or break schedule because of one human. And the real eye awakening was when what happened the next day. Well, Steve's not there, but guess what happens at work? The show goes on, and I was replaced. And so what that showed me is, are we needed or are we just wanted? The reality is we're all replaceable, and that hurts to say that out loud because I thought I wasn't. And I was replaceable within 24 hours. And for a cocky cowboy type guy, that's hard to hear and to swallow. I think there's a bunch of things when you look back at anything, hence the word hindsight's 2020. You can go back as far as me leaving the house. I should have just listened to my wife. But if I didn't listen there, the other crazy thing, again, just thinking so tunnel vision, not thinking full picture. Even if I spoke up and he said, do it or there's the highway, that's probably happened to someone who's listening to this today. All I would have had to have done is drive back to the office and go talk to a project manager or any staff and say, hey, I just tried to speak up and refuse unsafe work, and now he said I'm fired. I don't care what industry you're in, you're probably gonna get help and support. And probably I would still have my job. And most likely that supervisor wouldn't, or he would be knocked down a few stripes. I think I could have still just left and went back to the office and went and asked for help. I know there's gonna be people immediately tuning out. There's gonna be people that has the same mindset I did, that it's never gonna happen to them. Keep preaching, Steve, but it doesn't apply to me. I don't care if I get hurt, if I'm not here. My hope is that you guys see how real this is. We're told that a human makes 35,000 conscious, unconscious decisions a day, and I'm trying to show you today that it only takes one. That creates a ripple effect that could be life-changing, life-ending, can hurt the ones that you care about more than anything on this earth. And it's for what? For something at work. Hopefully you've seen today everything we build and touch is temporary, and that you leave today with making smart, right choices, and not because you have to, because you want to. You find the why for yourself. And everyone live out their days and have that same way of thinking like I do, is now I don't live to work, I work to live.